could come down. Alan Jones, a different looking grid this time round.
Yes, it's by virtue of the placing in the first grid, Darryl. It's still Glenn Seton on pole position by virtue of his fine win in the first heat. Larry Perkins is now next to him on the grid. Behind him, Jimmy Richards. Steve Reed next to Jim Richards, who drove very well indeed. And the two beautifully turned out product motorsport cars of Bob Pearson and Bruce Stewart. There they are now. It's a lovely coloured cars. You can see very vivid colours. Terry Finnegan coming through.
Larry Perkins, of course, on the front row of the grid this time round. Now, let's have a look at the hard chart. Up to 160. Remember, around about 90 is normal, and that's an exclusive piece of information we're giving you right around Australia. Our hard chart here at Nines Wide World of Sports. 157 Larry, settling down as the old thumper gets into tune for the start of this race. Now, he had a bit of bad luck. There was a bit of a biffo in the first round, and Larry's tyre was rubbing against the body, throwing out an awful amount of smoke.
The other thing to look out for, Darryl, is Peter Brock up at the back of the grid. He didn't finish in the first heat, so because of that now he must start at the back of the field, so he'll be one to watch in the first couple of laps for sure.
Yes, electrical problems forced out Brock. He had a pretty wild ride for the first couple of laps, in amongst some big action, waiting for the start now. Holden takes on Ford. The fans go up. They love this out here at Eastern Creek as we build up for a start. Larry Perkins stayed a little creep. Here they go. Waiting for the greens. They held them forever. Away they go. Steve Reed with a Commodore up the centre with a great start. Brock 2 comes down from nowhere on the grid and makes up about 4 or 5 places. Jimmy Richards in the Winfield Commodore moves up into second place. Look at Reed and look at Larry out the outside. Oh, throws out the house bricks and everything he can to get up into second place, but Jimmy Richards holds it. No, Perkins has another go.
Great move by Larry. I mean, to go around the outside like that was a great effort. So he looks like he's slotted into third. Great start by Reed. Didn't look at Glenn Seton. He's gone. It was a really good start by Glenn. Oh, Brocky's forcing his way through. Got him too.
Oh, Brock with some big aggression here. He had to come from a long way back on the grid, forcing his way through the big white 05. Larry Perkins in second. Steve Reed doing another good job in heat 2.
There's a good old ding-dong battle going on here in the Formula Holden, that's for sure. Oh, look at Reed. Oh, 2 wheels up on the inside. Forces his way back under Brock. Brocky won't like that. He'll be definitely having a major go back at him very shortly. Jimmy Richards got the eyes on too.
The 2 product cars we're talking about there running 2 and some big slidey stuff. Reed still holding Brock out. Brock won't like this. He has to make up all of those grid positions. He lost starting so far back, but Reed there. Perkins is second. Richards is in third. Steve Reed is the next car along. Then there's Peter Brock.
A ripper start by Brocky. He was 16th on the grid, and where is he now? 6th or something. So, whoop, locking up brakes.
Brock inside. I think he got him. Brock came down on the inside. Yep. Yes, sir, he's got him. So Peter Brock now chases Jimmy Richards. Steve Reed in behind him. Listen to the crowd here. They love Brocky. They love the Fords. They want to see the Ford-Holden battle continue. And anybody that said this formula wasn't going to work, rocks in their head.
Look, you know, the crowd speaks for itself. And every time the Falcon goes past, they go berserk. It really is back to the good old days of the V8 giants having a major battle. And when we get Dickie Johnson and a few more Fords on the grid, it's going to be unbelievable.
And you can see the storm clouds are building. We could get some rain before this is over. I think that'll make it interesting. Jimmy Richards in a car. They only turned the wheel in anger for the first time here at the creek throughout the week in very wet conditions. Haven't had time to sort it. Perkins taking the older car out, running the old VN and doing a pretty good job too in second place at the moment. Glenn Seton, see you later. He's gone. That Falcon at the moment is in sensational form. Brock now closing in on Jimmy Richards.
Yeah, well, the VN, or the VL Commodore of Larry Perkins, of course, doesn't enjoy the aerodynamic advantages of the VN, the big rear wing, as we can see now on Jimmy Richards' car. And it does have a 7,500 rev limit on it, but it is not restricted to the 10-to-1 compression ratio of these cars. So horsepower-wise, it's probably enjoying a little bit more.
Brock, Peter Perfect now makes his move on Jimmy Richards, comes right up behind the big red bumper. Look at the big spoilers from the rear. Oh, they're good-looking things, these new Terry cars. Don't worry about that. And the crowd here love them. They've turned out in force and they're screaming and yelling for their heroes now. Jimmy Richards under a lot of pressure as Brock makes his move down the straight. Sits in behind behind the Winfield car. Watch him at the end of the straight. The big long shoot here, he'll dive out of the brakes if he can. Richards holds the line. No, Richards will hold him out. Now Brock.
The thing to do here is for Brocky to stay as close as he possibly can behind Jimmy, and then when they get up to the left-hand hairpin, then pull out and try and get him under brakes.
Now he makes his move. Will Richards leave the door open? Oh, yes, Brocky through, and the crowd here in front up and yelling. Oh, they want to see Brock have a go at Seton. I don't think he can get that close to him at the moment. Seton running away and hiding. The Falcon absolutely flying here.
Seton's gone. He's in another race.
Well, now can Brock get to terms with Perkins? What a drive from Brock. This is the form he showed in the Wellington Street Race in New Zealand not long ago. He had the big Commodore V8 up and honking, let me tell you. And he's doing it again now. Electrical problems put him out in round one. Making up for it now with Peter Brock's style of old. Closing in two on Larry Perkins, no doubt about that. There's the gap. Richards still in behind. There's the storm clouds. Oh, a bit of water up there.
See, Peter moves his hand around on the wheel. Very relaxed style. Now, this is going to be good. I think he's definitely closing on Larry a little bit.
No doubt about that, AJ. He really is closing in. Larry Perkins in his new livery of Castrol colours. A big injection of money has gone into Perkins. A soul in the Touring Car Championship this year from Castrol. Well done. And, of course, Mobile now chasing him with P. Brock. And the Winfield car of Jimmy Richards not that far off the pace either. A lot of brand new faces in a lot of brand new places here at Eastern Creek, and the fans are loving it. Every time they come past, they're up and yelling.
Daryl, I was going to say that it's been a long time in Australian motorsport since we've seen a grandstand full of people hop up and cheer every time a certain car goes past.
Larry Perkins trailing the Glenn Seton Ford. He's not quite in touch yet. The big action, of course, where the Brock can catch Perkins. Larry, not the easiest guy to get past.
No, he's certainly not. And I tell you, while this is not a bad field, it's the cream, there are a lot more cars to come in Australian touring car racing. What's it going to be like then?
Larry Perkins now. We'll have a look at the Nines exclusive heart chart of Larry Perkins. Up to 147, 160, jumping around like jumping Flash Jack is Larry. The old pump is really doing its business here as Larry tries to hold out Brock. There he is, hard at work.
195, he's got up to then.
Unbelievable when you consider a normal rate's about 90. It's jumping around, it's pumping around. Larry using all the road and some. As I said, he's not the easiest guy to get past. Brock, he'll have to do his work here. Brock. Perkins, 1 and 2. Glenn Seton out in front. Absolutely dominated this year's races so far, as he did last year by winning the 2 heats in the Sierra. Brock, they're getting plenty of lock-up, plenty of smokes coming off the tyres, and that's what these cars are all about. A little bit of slip, a little bit of slide, a little bit of action.
Lots of body work, preferably flying in the air. That's what they come to see. They come to see big cars going through corners very close together, and that's what touring car racing's all about.
Seesaws the wheel. Brock closing in, ready to pounce if he can get past LP. Not the easiest man to get by. Larry doesn't like to get past. Brock now, close enough. Now we'll see some action. Glenn Seton's out in front. See you later. It's all over for him if he keeps going. This is where the action is. Perkins in the old VN. Brock in the new VP. Classic difference in body styles of the two Holdens you can see for yourself.
I see Larry locks the front wheel, but so does Peter as well as they come in, and they, as the car leans over to the right going through a left-hand corner, it takes the weight off the wheel, and that has a tendency to lock it up. See, Larry just locked his up then. That's all very well and good, but if it continues to do it all that often, you'll put a flat spot on that tyre, and then you get a vibration through the steering wheel, and of course it wears that away more quickly.
So Brock trying everything he can to get as close as he can to slingshot himself past. But Perkins knows he's there. He'll close the door every time he can. He knows that I don't think he can get hold of Seton, but he certainly doesn't want Peter Perfect to come round him. Look at this. You can't get any closer. Brock ready to pounce. Larry saying, catch me if you can. Get round me if you can. Great stuff here at the creek. Again, that brake locks up and Brock puts his nose goes inside, but no go.
Larry will have a better exit than that because he went in a little bit wider and made sure that his exit was going to be a little bit cleaner. Peter went to go on the inside and as such paid the penalties. He's dropped back 3 or 4 car lengths.
Well read, AJ. He's dropped back a fair bit there on the straight. Down he comes. Look at the attitude of the car now as it goes through. Sits nicely on the road. Looks a lot bigger, doesn't it, than the old model that Larry's driving?
Yeah, it does. Well, I think the rear wing and the big front spoiler just make the car look that much bigger, but in actual fact, it's, I think, smaller and lighter, obviously.
Well, this is a new look Terry cars, and there's been a lot of debate. There's been a lot of discussion about it. The fans here at Eastern Creek, well, they've given their approval. They love every second of it. It's a pity that they can't get near the Ford this weekend, but that'll change as the season progresses.
I hope not, Des.
AJ gets his test run at Amaroo Park in the new Ford. Can't wait to get in it. I've never seen AJ so pumped up, I'll tell you.
No, I'm really looking forward to it. I mean, Glenn just raves about the car. He said it's a real good form of motor racing. As you can see, like, as I said before, we haven't got a depleted entry. I mean, we have the cream of racing, but, I mean, when John Bowe and Dick Johnson and all these guys come to a full grid, can you imagine what it'll be like?
Fantastic stuff. Well, Larry Perkins has done everything he can. Brock just can't get past him. He gets close enough, but the traffic there, look at this, they're weaving their way through the traffic. That'd be nice, these two looming up in your mirror.
Yeah, I think if you're in a small Corolla or something, you'd have a tendency to wave them through.
Brock probably lost a little ground there with the back traffic. You can see, oh, big lock up again and loses more ground.
He went very light on the back end, 2 under brakes. The back of the car started to slide out a little bit. That would have cost him a bit of time again.
Not that much closer, maybe a fraction this time round. See if he can close in on the end of this long, long straight. These cars really winding up. They get some big speeds down here, both on the brakes now. Brock probably didn't get any advantage out of that at all. So Larry Perkins doing a great job. Halfway mark, just about 7 out of 15. Glenn Seton, you just saw a flash of blue at the top of your screen. He's not that far in front. He's probably got, what did you think, 4, maybe 5 seconds. He'd be doing it pretty easy. Remember, they've got to use the same tyres all day long. Now, Glenn Seton had a great run in the first heat, so he's nursed his tyres, he nursed the car. It's pretty fresh, he's ready to go. And I'd say he's just doing it pretty easy at the moment. He knows where they are, exactly where they are.
He's got 5 seconds at the moment, Darryl, so he could pretty well pace himself, I would. If he has to pick his game up here, I reckon he will. But if he doesn't, he'll just bring it home.
Watching himself through the traffic and hoping that all the back markers give him the courtesy of the leader that he is. He doesn't want to have any problems here. He won this series last year, the Winfield Triple Challenge, driving the Ford Sierra for the Peter Jackson team, and looks like repeating the dose this year. Here's the dice, though. The traffic could have a bearing on these two. Brock very close now. Puts the front of the car right in the back. And have a look at Larry's heart chart. It's up to 204. 204. Larry Perkins' heart chart reading out here. Unbelievable stuff.
Well, the fatigue is probably, you know, the heat. I mean, these things, as I said before, are like a mobile sauna bath. The heat would be getting him the fatigue, and that in turn will be really pumping that, getting the whole heart pumping. Well,
it went from 140 up to 200 under brakes. Unbelievable. But he's certainly holding his own down this big, long straight. No doubt about that. Brock probably losing a little bit of ground in the traffic there, but he's got to keep fighting his way back to get into touch with Larry Perkins again. Perkins, a real tough customer. There he is. Look, 200 on the hard chart again. Larry sees Brock come up, and the pumper goes to 200.
Well, 204 then. I think the VN is, it looks certainly a little better under brakes. It looks a little bit more stable, and its corner weight seemed to be a little better looking than Larry's car under brakes.
So Perkins, one eye on the mirror, one eye in front of him. He knows that he can't really get into touch with Glenn Seton unless Seton does something silly here or has a problem with the car. At the moment, he's more concerned about Peter Brock is climbing all over him. He has now for the last 4 laps. Brock has done everything he can to get past Perkins and just can't get in touch. This time he's a bit closer. See what happens this time round. Storm clouds holding off at the moment.
Glenn Seton's getting away by about 0.3, 0.5 of a second a lap. Of course, all this dueling helps a bit, see, because Larry's driving defensively. He's holding up Peter where Peter's a bit quicker and vice versa, and that, of course, is helping Glenn Seton just edge away even more.
Brock, can you just believe the race pace on Brock? When he gets it on, the eyes are like dinner plates.
Well, he's a fabulous competitor. You know, he's been driving touring cars since Big Ben was a wristwatch. I mean, there's nothing he doesn't know about touring cars, and he is certainly the most educated touring car campaigner in Australia, bar none. And Larry won't be able to make the slightest little mistake. Brocky will get him.
Rocky's just switched the lights on, as if Larry didn't know he was there.
Well, that could be. Sometimes if the battery is overheating a little bit, or the alternator is playing up or whatever, they turn the lights on to try and drain it down a bit. That may be. Or alternatively, if they're coming up to lap slower cars, the slower car sees the lights and move over, and it might work in Peter's favour against Larry.
Great stuff here at Eastern Creek between Larry Perkins and Peter Brock. Once teammates, they've won Bathurst together a number of times. They've formed teams together. They've had their fallouts, their fall-ins, but they're always, when they get together, it's pretty rough stuff.
You see Peter made up a bit of ground under brakes, and because the other thing, it could be a bit of the old psyching out. He's, you know, if Larry's looking in the rear view mirror, Pete just switches on the headlights to give him something else to think about.
So, this is terrific stuff, and what a season we're going to have of touring car racing if this is any indication. And the fans here at Eastern Creek, you've got to believe, are just hooting in the stands. They just love this. Glenn Seton way out in front, but this is where the dice is. There's no doubt about that. The rain might just hold off. It's very, very black above us, but I don't know if we're going to get too much water. That would have made things really interesting at the moment. You can see the change of colour in the sky there. But Brock doesn't really know what else he can do to get past Perkins. Perkins throwing the car around with Gay about and using all the road and then some.
Now, Peter's pretty well placed, and he came out of there fairly cleanly, but it looks like Larry has definitely got the legs on him down the straight, so he is actually pulling away.
No doubt about that. That's happened lap after lap, hasn't it?
Well, you know, as I said before, the VL should really have a few more horsepower than the VN because, you know, it's not subject to that. Here we go. No, it's not. The compression ratio. It's not. It has the same rev limiter as the VN, but it's not subject to that 10.1 compression. So it should have a bit more horsepower, which obviously there's no substitute for horsepower down the straight. 10
of 15, and Brock's lost a lot of ground in that exchange with the traffic. He really has got way off the pace now. I mean, Larry can really ease back just a fraction, not that he would, of course, but that's as much breathing space as he's had in second place in this entire race.
He's in trouble. He's in trouble.
Yeah, Brock has gone. Can't see Brock. There he is. Well, he's way back, isn't he? The car had an electrical problem in the first round and pulled up.
Well, you see, that might account for the headlights coming on, the electrical problem. It might have a fluctuation, and so that's where he's whacked. See, he's got them off now.
So Peter Brock, perhaps a problem. Perhaps he just lost too much in that traffic.
No, he wouldn't have lost that much in the traffic. He's definitely got some problems.
Well, he'd be pretty disappointed, Peter Brock, because after the performance he put up in New Zealand recently in the Wellington race, I mean, honestly, I don't think I've seen him throw a Holden round with so much aggression for many, many years, and the car just looks sensational on the circuit over there. He went from 43rd spot to 6th after heavy rain forced the field in for tyre changes in the early part of the race, and it was a very, very exciting drive from Peter Brock. It had New Zealand, let me tell you, on its toes, and he was hoping that the car would pick up and run on that performance here back in Australia at Eastern Creek, but slightly down on what we thought it could do this weekend. But of course, it's the first race of the season. There's a long way to go yet.
Well, we have something like about 4 laps to go, and now the interest remains if Jimmy Richards can catch Peter Brock. Whoops, a daisy, we've just had a major blow up.
Steve Reed just blowing the engine in a big way right down the straightaway here. The crowd are up. I mean, there's nothing much to cheer about. Poor old Steve Reed, he's let go in a big way.
Yeah, I think that's a very expensive retirement.
So with just a lap to go now, the Peter Jackson team will take out this Winfield Triple Challenge, Australia's Motorsport Spectacular, for the second time in a row. He just keeps it going for one more lap. Did it last year in the Ford Sierra. He's going to repeat the dose this time round in the Ford Falcon. It's been a very interesting exercise today. We've seen just the new face of touring cars and the way everybody's getting excited about the new package. Larry Perkins, there's rumoured that he'll take over the Holden racing team, racing one car under the Castrol banner and the other car with Thomas Mazzera on board under the Telecom banner. So that could be all very interesting stuff. Barry Sheen in the pits. You've got some news?
Yeah, I have, Darryl. Apparently the problem is with Brocky is the rev limiter that Cams have given him. Apparently it packed up in the first one. They didn't say, they said it wasn't there, but the rev limiter is apparently packed up again, and what it's doing is just cut the engine out. But Cam said there's nothing wrong with our rev limiter. Would you agree with that, Jonesy?
Well, if Cam said it, they're right.
Well, naturally.
Barry Sheen on the job in the pits, and now we know what's happened to Brocky's car.
Darryl, I tell you, we've got one lap to go, and I don't know whether it's possible, but when that car crosses over the finish line, just listen to the people in the grandstand. Unbelievable.
Well, they have really taken the car to their hearts today here at Eastern Creek. Every time he's rolled it out on the grid, the crowd has stood up, they've clapped, they've cheered, and it's been a marvellous sight. Oh, that's bad luck.
Oh, that looks like an upright failure or something on the front right-hand side. It's a shame to happen this late in the race.
Larry Perkins still working away. He had, of course, Brock all over him for so many laps. Brock still closing up. He's not that far back, but Larry Perkins still locking up everything. So the flag ready now for Glenn Seton. Second time on the trot. He'll take out the Winfield Triple Challenge for Group A cars here. And the crowd up on their feet here on the stands, absolutely hooting and yelling. Glenn Seton gets the flag, and listen to the crowd. There you go, standing up and cheering. Boy, oh boy, we've got some Ford fans out here this weekend. Larry Perkins comes across the line. Great drive from Larry. He gets another big reception here from the crowd, and Peter Brock flashes across after his problems. So this jam-packed crowd have really enjoyed their first encounter of the new look Group A cars, with no doubt about it, the top dog this weekend being Glenn Seton in the Ford Falcon. Let's have a look now at the results of the Group A touring cars and results of race 2. Glenn Seton again the winner in the Falcon. Larry Perkins second. Good drive from Larry in the Commodore. Peter Brock, Jim Richards and Bob Pearson. Fine drive from him, a new team as well. The overall results now, let's have a look for the second time running. Australia's Motorsport Spectacular, the Winfield Triple Challenge, has gone to Glenn Seton from Larry Perkins and Jim Richards. And of course, down pit side, Alan Jones talking to his new teammate.
Well, Glenn Seton, congratulations. A back-to-back win, not only on today, but on the year. You did the same thing last year.
That's right. The car is absolutely fantastic, Alan. The fellas have done a fantastic job, and also really, I've got to pay credit to Bridgestone, who have come up with a fantastic tyre. I think as the year goes on, but Winfield will be back with their Commodore, and the Commodores will be hard to beat once we get to all the other circuits. So at this stage, I'm really delighted to win the race, and also to say the Ford is back.